Sorry, Jay. Hang on one second. I, of course, tried to get them to go outside before our call, but, they want to wait.
How many dogs do you have?
Well, I say I have 2.5 because the third one is a 3.5-pound teacup Yorkie, so she doesn't really count as a dog.
Oh, okay.
But I have Hershey, who's a chocolate lab golden retriever mix, and then Tux is a black and white terrier mix. He looks like he's wearing a little tuxedo, so that's why I named him Tux.
Oh, well, my son's name is Hirsch, and everybody always calls him Hershey.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So, yeah. So I actually know this because I go for a walk in the park, and there is this. He's a pretty hero. He's a war hero. I call him Captain Art.
Okay.
I don't even know his last name actually because I never. And he rescues basset hounds.
Oh, cool.
And he always has 3 of them, and some of these are like in real bad shape, and he really takes care of them. Like I said, next life I want to come back as one of those basset hounds.
Yeah, right.
The way you take care of them.
Yeah, I've often said I wanted to come back as a domesticated animal.
Because he really, these are some. I remember one basset hound that he rescued. When he rescued them, was like so thin. And after he started taking care of him, suddenly I couldn't even tell the difference between that basset hound from the others that he had.
Wow.
He really fed them well.
Yeah, I have a friend. She is, she does the dog rescue. She's like always on Facebook showing pictures of dogs that they're finding or picking up or what have you. So there's the initial picture, and then 2 months later or so, they'll have mange, their skin will be all red and inflamed, and like 2 months later she'll show pictures of them there,
So do you always had dog ever since you were little, or
yeah.
I see. So
I've always had a dog.
So you're pretty comfortable with having pets around.
Yes. I'm a firm believer. I actually did a research study on this. So I was working on my master's of psychology, and in my research and statistics class, we had to put together a research study, and mine was about, I wanted to test whether or not having a dog as a young person, like within the family, and or having a dog now in adulthood, increase the number of meaningful relationships that people have, right? Anyone can have a relationship, but dogs teach us loyalty and unconditional love and all of that. We really value. A lot of people, when they say they love dogs, that's why. It's because of those characteristics. And I was curious to see if that translated over into interpersonal relationships. And I found a very high correlation between being raised with a dog, like having a family dog, and having a higher number of meaningful relationships. So, of course, I had to operationalize what a meaningful relationship meant, but, the testing was pretty interesting. So I think having a dog is really important, especially for kids. And, they use therapy dogs and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and also it kind of it develops kind of responsibility because you have somebody that you're taking care of.
Right.
And it makes you grow up, because that's what I kind of noticed, that people who have been around pets, they tend to be much more social and have a lot of empathy. They develop that empathy skills, which is becoming kind of so important, especially in what you do. Empathy is so important. So I think that having that experience raising dogs definitely helps you out in what you do with coaching these youths, the young people that you coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
So yeah, to catch up, since the last time we spoke, I've had some pretty exciting things happen. They're exciting for me because it's progress. I have been getting a lot more interest on Facebook with some of the ads that I've been putting out. I don't know if you've heard of Canva. but it's a really easy promotional tool to use. Like you can go in there and create flyers, newsletters,
I've heard of
social.
it. You
Yeah,
like it? You like that? How
I
do you spell
love
that?
it. Yeah, it's Canva, canva.com. And it's super easy to use. And I'm finding the more I use it and the more I pay attention to how other people are advertising on social media, I feel like I'm starting to close the gap, you know, and
So you're having a lot of success with Facebook ads. Is that what you just said before?
So basically, you know, I used to go from I had like 20 followers on Facebook, right? And I would maybe get 2 likes per post. Now I'm up almost to 100 followers,
Wow.
and I'm getting so it'll show you like what the reach is for each post. I'm getting hundreds of people. I'm getting this in front, and this is without boosting it, Jay. I'm not even paying money, you know, to boost these ads, and they're getting in front of a bunch of different people, and that's telling me that, you know, they're being shared, they're being liked, they're, you know, they're just being seen by a lot of people, because it's I'm finally able to kind of understand what the algorithm is for Facebook, you know, what it takes to have that high visibility, you know, for a Facebook post without having to boost it. You know, you can easily pay $5 or $10, which is not a big deal, you know, to boost the post or the ad, and you can get it in front of a lot of people, but it's not what they call organic, right? Whereas if I'm building an audience and I'm starting to clue in on what it is they're interacting and engaging with, then that's an organic reach. I didn't have to pay for that. And
Right.
it's
Right.
actually more meaningful because they're sticking with me. You know, it's not just like, blam, I'm gonna pay $5 and put this in front of you. What that just means they saw it. That doesn't mean
Right.
that they are gonna come back, you know.
So when it's organic, how would they see it? They would have to do some kind of a search, because I think when it's advertised, it'll just pop up or somewhere, right? Like on the
Right.
right or
Well,
something.
so
And
that's
when
what
it's
it is.
organic, go ahead.
Yeah, so when it's organic, it's more of the fact that they're already engaged, or they're engaged with me, but they're sharing it with someone else, or
Oh, I see.
more people are liking it, therefore their friends are seeing it more. You know what I mean? That's the reach is organic in the sense that more and more people are seeing it, but I didn't have to pay any money to put it in
So,
front of their
so
face.
uh, I should see a sample of what you did there, because that's pretty impressive. That without any, that's not even an ad. That's just a post. That's what you really
Yeah,
did. You didn't
yeah.
really put an ad. You just posted something on your.
So the last one I did, what, and
Yeah,
I'll
send me
send
a
you
link. Yeah, send me a link, and maybe I'll follow you, so that way I can see what you're doing. Because maybe I
yeah,
can learn. I have to learn, because I tried uh, my book I published about a month ago, and I
uh-huh.
used the Amazon ads, and I didn't get any
Yeah,
response. It was a
yeah,
waste. I mean, it
yeah,
didn't cost me anything because nobody clicked on anything, but there was nothing. Nothing happened. So I'm trying to
right.
see how I can increase. And like my book is only priced on Kindle for $2.99, so it's not like I'm charging a lot for this book, because
Right.
I just want to get the book in the hands of a lot of people, so
Sure.
that, because it's very hard unless you're popular to make money writing books. So
Right.
you use the book as a way to kind of promote yourself, and I put a lot of work in that book. So that's what I'm trying to do. If Facebook ads, because I don't have that, because I don't really spend a lot of time on Facebook, so I don't have that many followers on Facebook.
Hmm.
But I have to spend. My sister was telling me that I should be more active on Facebook,
Yeah.
because I've been
You
on LinkedIn and other places, but not on Facebook. So I have to.
right. So LinkedIn brings a lot to the table because it's more professional, but if you really want to engage with your audience and build an audience, everyone's on Facebook. I mean, I don't necessarily like being on Facebook, um, but you have to meet them where they're at, and
Yeah, yeah, that's
that's
true.
the community nowadays, you know. And I have an IT guy. This is the other exciting thing that's been going on is I have an IT guy that I met with, and is not only knowledgeable when it comes to IT and security and web design and all that kind of stuff, but he's young. I mean, he's if I had to guess, I'd say he's probably a millennial. And so he is very in tune with how to get the information out in a meaningful way. Mm-hmm. You know, and he knows I mean, that you gotta have that plug-in. But anyway, so I've met with him, and you know, we've got some ideas going about how, you know, he's able to listen to me, and you know, just like you're able to listen to me and pull out certain things, you know, that we can focus on. He's able to do that from an IT and web design standpoint, you know. Right, so right. And he was the one that was telling me that, you know, the community is Facebook, it's social media. So yeah, people still kind of somewhat interact face to face and all that kind of stuff. But really, if you want to be in the community, you have to be plugged in social media. So
right. Yeah, because I'm kind of experimenting to see whether Facebook is. I haven't, like I said, I haven't done much with Facebook, but I'm going to have to start after listening to you that it's. It's a lot of people have been telling me about it. I always thought like Facebook was for something else, like if you're posting a lot of pictures and stuff. That for book, I didn't think Facebook would be that helpful, but I have to try it, see what happens. Because another thing I do is like I write because now that my book is done, and part of the way to promote myself. This is just an idea that we talked about last time. So one of the things that this is interesting. I'm supposed to be asking you questions, but I'm telling you actually is having the opposite of it. You'll be wondering, wait a second, wasn't this supposed to be about?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, it's an exchange of ideas.
I think we're kind of doing the same thing, and I'm just kind of sharing some things that I'm doing. So I wrote a blog just last week related to, because I focus especially on speaking, right? And this came after that Oprah Winfrey speech that she gave at the 2018. So I wrote a blog regarding that, like, you know, why that was such an effective and memorable speech. So I put it on LinkedIn. Now, the thing is, that's the only place I put it. I haven't even put that on my website yet. But I'm trying to figure out how do I leverage that so that, because there I have in my signature, I have listed my book link so they can, if somebody's really interested, they like my article, they might want to go and purchase the book for $2.99 on Kindle, which isn't really that much for what they would get from it. And, you know, like I said, I self-publish it, so I can change the price, but I can't go lower than $2.99, because if you just give it away for free, then it means that people don't look at it. There should be some cost associated with. I mean, I personally think that if people follow what I've covered in the book, it pays off more than that. But the question is, people have to do that. And now, everybody's so busy that nobody really has time to really. I mean, you know, you're probably busy. You're going to run into that, by the way. Everybody's kind of into their own thing. And sometimes you get frustrated, like, wait a second, I have something so important to offer. But as far as other people are concerned, they're just focusing on what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, you definitely have to use some powerful keywords to be able to kind of break through. But yeah, as far as your book and your message, like Jacob was telling me, the IT guy, everyone loves a story. Everything's about a story now. If you go on social media, especially Facebook or whatever, Twitter, that's what people are doing. They're telling a story about themselves. And then the other thing is you have to know who your audience is. So you have to target who you want to hear your message. And then you can target, you know, you can use, like if you boost a post or something like that, you can go in and you can pick the age range, the geographical location, what they're into, what groups they may be into. And that's the other thing. You have to kind of know where they're hanging out, you know, what they might be looking at on the internet. You know, do your research with that, and then kind of get an idea of who your audience is, where they hang out, and then you can target your message in there. And then the last thing I wanted to mention to you is there's also a program or application or whatever you want to call it called Hootsuite. So that when you do, so let's say you decide you want to use LinkedIn, Facebook, and say YouTube or Instagram. I can't imagine you using really Instagram, but whatever you like, pick 3 social media platforms that you want to use, that you want to get your message out on. Hootsuite will, you can go in there and you can schedule your posts, and then it'll automatically send it out. You can spend like a day or half a day saying, okay, I want this message to go out on this day and schedule it for this time, blah, blah, blah. You can do that like a week in advance. And then that way you don't have to worry about it anymore. And it will send it to whichever social media platform you're on.
Right, at that scheduled time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to use Hootsuite a while back. I have to get back to it. I usually use TweetDeck, so I don't know if you can do that on Deck, but I agree with you. For Hootsuite is much more flexible, but I think for that you have to pay for it, right? Is that true?
Yeah, I don't remember how much it is. I think it's less than $30 a month.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, otherwise all you can do is just see it. You can just see the feeds. You cannot really send it out on a time. I think even the basic one you can do it on one, but you can't do it, like you said, across all different social media platforms out there. Hey, Let me ask you this question about audience. So you mentioned something important there about trying to get as specific as possible on who your audience is. So have you done that with who you're, like if you have to target, like I said, if you're all over the map, then people, you're confusing them because they don't know if you're the right person for them. So who is your audience at this point? Or are you still working on that?
Yeah, so I'm actually getting more and more clear as time goes on. And this is something that Jacob was able to kind of pinpoint when we were talking about my business and what I'm wanting to accomplish. So I originally said that I wanted to work with youth, women, and couples. And I agree with Jacob. I think that's going to be a little bit too broad, especially in the beginning. Like maybe you just focus in on one thing and then build from that. And so when we were talking, the thing that kept coming up, like where my passion lies, is dealing with young people, helping young people, not dealing with, that sounds terrible, but helping young people say, like, I really want to help, like, say, really, they're going to be coming up into a big transition, life transition, leaving school and then going on to the next thing. And then I also want to put together a video series for parents and teens. Now, this will be something that's like behind a paywall on my website, but dealing with things like sex and bullying and drugs and all that. They have it from the parents' perspective and the kids' perspective, and it's a video series that they can watch either together or separately, or, I'll probably set it up to where it's like, okay, parents, you watch this, kids, you watch this, and then you watch this together and, facilitate a conversation about it. And what really excites me about that is I'm not going to be able to coach, the whole population that I want to one-to-one. I'm just one person and not everyone's going to be able to afford that. But, I'm very passionate about being able to help a large group of people, on these topics. And so that would be a way to do it. And then from that, I'm sure I'll write a book and then, go get some speaking engagements and stuff like that. But I've actually done a lot of research on these topics. And I know that I have a way that I can present the material that's going to be helpful for the parents and the teens.
Right. So let's take did you, I don't know if I asked you this last time because I don't remember, maybe you can refresh my memory. Do you have a tagline for what you do?
I played around with some different taglines. Like one of them is, where I wrote it down somewhere.
This would be for young people, right?
Here it is. Your kid's success is not a luxury, it's a necessity. That was one of them.
So wait, so your tagline is targeting parents, or you have got multiple?
Kinda, yeah, because they're going to be the ones paying for it.
Right. Because I was giving some thought to it, so I'm going to give you some that I came up with.
Okay.
And then you can expand it and do. So one of them that I came up, this is what happens when I go for my walk. I said, oh, I got to get on a call. I got to bring something to the table to Kimberly to see, have her try out some of these and see what she thinks. So one of them that I came up with was, now you said with this is targeted towards parents. So then it changes it a little bit, because I was targeting directly to the young people. So one thing could be unleash your kids' superpower. Unleash your kids' true potential or real potential or whatever you want to call it. Well, those are two. I think there were others, but I don't remember now. So the word unleash was important. That's just one word to work with. So I was trying to think like that something that should be so captivating that they don't need to really think too hard. Like, what exactly do you do? And like, remember we were saying, like, if somebody asks you, so Kimberly, Kim, what do you do? I help unleash young people's true potential, something like that.
Right.
And then that could be your tagline or something similar to that, where they would want to know more. Because it starts with the tagline. The tagline is like, because you're doing a lot of complicated stuff there, but then you have to simplify it so that people get it. Oh, I get it. You help unleash the kids. So they ask, like, what does that mean? And you say these kids have tremendous potential, but they go through a lot of this peer pressure. So they're not unleashing it. And I coach them so that they are focused and they know that they have that superpower in them.
Right.
And I help bring it out of them.
Yes. I like that.
Yeah. So to work with those, like unleash, maybe you can wordsmith it and come up with some better word. But it seems like that's what you're doing. See, what I'm trying to get to is that if you use that tagline, then I definitely get a pretty good idea that would get me to ask you more questions like, wow, that's interesting. How do you do that? Like, what does that mean? And that has to be very catchy.
You're right. Okay.
And that, like, I have a tagline. I don't know if you saw it. Like, I have several taglines, and I don't know which one is. Like, one of them I have in my book. I have, like, this is not a tagline, but it's like a phrase actually. Time is money, communication is wealth. That's one of them. But then I have another one where I show this guy, because my book is titled "Winning Speech Moments," and I didn't use that for my cover. See, some of these things you come up with it after you're done. So I have this guy, like, with the victory pose. So that kind of represents like the W, like, W, right? So that makes the W. And then underneath the podium, I put a tagline, don't wing it, go win it, like that, So immediately, like, people get the idea, like, wow, that's, I mean, these are things you got to experiment with.
Right.
Which one is going to really catch on. But once you start, the only person that's going to know whether it's working is you, because you're going to use it. So every opportunity you get, whether it's on Facebook or you want to push that out.
Right.
You got to push that out because they need to identify with you as Kim, the person who can help unleash the young people's true potential. That's how you want to be. That's your branding, essentially.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to ask yourself, what kind of brand? Like, if somebody, and that's why you got to be very focused in the beginning. And that's a problem I'm having. Like, who is my real target, right? And once you have that,
it's hard.
Well, it's hard because the target you think is not the one that's receptive to your message. So then you wonder, like, wait a second. Like, I thought that the people who would like my book are people in the technical, because I have a technical background. But then I realized that technical people don't really, they're fat and happy. They got good jobs. So they don't really want to spend time learning how to give speeches. When they need it, it'll be too late. So, and then by that time, my book isn't going to help them much because this is not a skill you're going to be able to pick up that quickly.
Right.
So what happens is that's who I thought my target was. And now I'm finding out that my real target is not them. It's people who are already would like to do it, and they're trying to, it's basically using, the book is like more like it's motivating people that, hey, I should be doing this. Now, that's not the audience that I was targeting. Because my book is a little bit advanced. It's not for people who have fear of speaking, because I don't really cover that in my book. It's more for people who want to win when they're speaking. When I say win, I mean, see, I have a different perspective on speaking. A lot of people are just interested in giving a speech. I look at it from the point of, like, if you're going to spend a lot of time and effort, you better achieve your objective, whatever that is.
Right.
Otherwise, why are you spending all that time just so that people say, hey, Kim, you gave a great speech, but then they have no interest in either spreading your message or becoming your client or taking any kind of action you want them to take. Then the question is, what did you really achieve by giving that speech? Yes, you gave a great speech, but that wasn't your objective. You wanted something out of it, which is something like a lot of people don't say that. A lot of people just focus on the audience, which is true. You want to focus on the audience, but you want to focus it in terms of what is it that you're trying to get out of it.
Right. Have you, I mean, I'm sure you probably have, but like Toastmasters and this local speakers bureau, have you put your book out in front of those people?
No, I have to do that. That's a good point. I have to get it out to the Toastmasters. I've been trying a lot of like the local like colleges and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a tough nut to crack because there are a lot of that. So I've been trying colleges. It's going to take a while because I need to get unless, okay, I think we were talking about this. Unless I'm out there giving speeches, people are not going to be that interested in my book, because the only people that are going to be interested is if they like my speech and they want to know more. Like I think we were talking about in the beginning, people want to just see who you are.
Right.
And like everybody that I speak to, they want my book. So I need to put myself more out there. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
That's what I was telling you, that if you put yourself more out there, and because the first thing you always sell is yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the one-to-one interaction is really important.
Yeah. You're one of the best book on speaking is this one right here. It's by this guy, Roger Ailes. I don't know if this guy, he wrote a great book, in my opinion. And it says, "You are the message."
Uh-huh.
Can you see it? Oh, let's see. You are the message. There it is.
Getting what you want by being who you are. Oh, that's a great tagline.
Yeah. I mean, he was like the guru when it came to messaging and all that. He coached presidents, and he started Fox News Network and all that. So he knows about how to get your message across. And what he says is that you yourself are a message. Right. The first thing so like before they know what you do, they got to believe in you, who you are. You got to sell yourself as the person before what you do. Like I do coaching. Well, that's not going to really impress them until you impress who you are. If they find out, like, Kimberly, wow, I really get what she's saying, that means I'm going to really pay attention to what she does. If you can't get to that, then they're not going to pay attention to. A lot of people focus on, hey, let me tell you what I do, but that's not what he's saying. That's not how it works. You've got to first be the message. Right. Which kind of makes sense, but it's kind of hard to execute, because we all think because we live in a world where we focus on what we do, but the people that we're talking to, that's not how they see us. Right. They don't see what you do for people. They see what you represent. Absolutely. And you represent with your honesty, your commitment, your authenticity, then they think, wow, I am willing to pay more attention. I want to follow. I want to know more about what that's what you want. That's what I want. That's what you want. That's what we all want. Right. Because I always tell, because one of the things I do for Hire Heroes is that I coach, heroes and their spouses when they go for job interviews. And in fact, I have to contact Anisha because I have to give a presentation. And one of the things I tell them is that that when you are when you're interviewing, you really, really have to. There was a thought. I just lost my thought. It'll come back. I think what I was trying to say is that you got to really be able to sell yourself, because if you cannot, then why would they want to? Because this was the point. The stuff that you're good at is something that you don't see in an interview. Right. Exactly. So a lot of people, so a lot of these military veterans are very competent, highly competent. They have a lot of experience and they've done a lot of wonderful stuff. The problem is that an interview is a different game altogether, because you get that one shot where either you're going to resonate or you're not going to resonate. Right. And if you're not, it's like a little like a choreography, right? It's like you got to rehearse it in such a way, but you can't appear like you're rehearsed. It's like you got it figured out, but you can't be too scripted, right?
Right.
And I've been trying to help my daughter because she's looking for a job right now, and I tell her that you got to know exactly what's going to happen in the interview. An interview
Hmm.
really is a proxy for a job.
Right.
The way you interview is how they're going to see you as doing the job.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
but they're not going to put you to work. They're just going
Yeah.
to ask you to see how you can answer. So a lot of people go in there thinking that. So one of the presentations that I'm working on for the Higher Heroes is kind of designing the interview. And
Hmm.
nobody ever thinks of that in an interview. And that applies to what you do. Like when you're going to meet somebody, right? You almost have
Yes.
to design ahead of time.
Right.
It's sort of like football. Like you got to have a pre-game, game, and a post-game, right?
Hmm. Yep.
If you
You
don't
have to
have
envision
any
it.
idea what's going to happen, then you're just winging it.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
Oh, absolutely.
that applies to just about everything. That if you're getting in front of, because what we do is it's a people skills, right? And a lot of
Mhm.
people kind of take it for granted, like I've been talking to people. No, it's different. When you
Right.
talk to people at that high stakes, you got to win it because you're not going to get
Hmm.
that second chance. So anyway, so you were saying something. So what else have you actually had any coaching sessions, or are you still working on that?
So yeah, I'm still working on that. I've got someone who we've been kind of going back and forth on getting a session scheduled. But she says that she's ready to do some coaching, so hopefully that's the case.
Right.
um, so yeah, and another interesting thing that's been happening lately is so I've been part-time substituting in the school district. And I set that up by design because I want to work with young people, right? So establishing that credibility within the schools, within the school system or whatever, I figured would be a really great way. I mean, I had to go through a background check and all that kind of stuff too,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, mostly since I started doing that in November, and then of course we had the holidays in between. I mean, they were out of school for a couple of weeks. So it's been kind of off and on. But anyway, when I first started doing that, I was in the elementary schools primarily, and I just started subbing over at the high school. And I decided that when I went to class, when I introduced myself, I was going to tell them, my name and that I'm doing this on a part-time basis while I build my life coaching practice. And I'm originally from Louisiana and I moved to Washington State a year ago, kind of just like, hey, this is who I am, so they're not looking at, because kids have a way of like, oh, this is a substitute, she's a loser, she doesn't have a real job, or who
Oh
knows what
yeah.
they think,
Oh yeah. We were all there once.
yeah, yeah. And so I decided to do that. And the kids were actually really interested in coaching. I actually had a kid approach me about, wanting to know more about it, what coaching is and all that kind of stuff. And so I just thought that was really cool, and it just goes to show that, the more I put myself out there, the more courageous I am to just say like, no, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to throw it
Right.
out there. You never know what's going to come back.
Right. How do
So
you explain? So you did that. So you were a
yeah.
substitute teacher. So let me ask you this. So how do you explain to them what coaching really is and how it benefits them?
So it seems like often I give a different answer and it's based on how I'm reading them, because usually I've already talked to them a little bit and I can kind of pinpoint, how they might be feeling about themselves, so like one kid I was talking to, he was selling himself short, basically. And
Right.
I was like, what coaching's going to do for you? It's going to show you all the wonderful gifts you have. It's going to make you so excited about doing the things you're passionate about that you would not dare sell yourself short, because you're going to be so on fire for your life and what you have to offer,
Right.
that, I mean, think
Right.
about like a sports coach, right? That's out
Right.
there,
Right.
they're able
Exactly.
to see, you know, they're able to see the talent. Everyone has a talent,
Mm.
everyone, and so anyone that spends any amount of time with somebody focusing on a particular endeavor, they're going to be able to see the talent in that person. They're also going to be able to see, where they're selling themselves short, or they're sabotaging themselves, or they're not quite sure or whatever. And having that person to focus on them entirely, say, yes, you can do this. Hey, this is what I'm seeing you doing. This is what I'm hearing from you, blah, 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 whatever. You get the gist. It's really no different, than life coaching. That's what life
Right.
coaching is.
Exactly. So you use analogies like that if you're joining like a football or basketball, you can't have a team. You cannot improve or get better or win without a coach.
Right. Absolutely.
But when it comes to life, we don't think that you need a coach. Now, how is that different? Like, for basketball, that's an analogy I would use. I think I agree with you that you got to use an analogy that they're familiar with. Like if they're joining a sporting activity, because they know that you need a coach if you're going to join a sport. But when it comes to life, we're pretty much on our own. Like, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, what the difference is, Jay, is that you could say, if you want to be at the top of your game, if you want to really excel, you're not living a life in the shadows. You're not living, you're not just out there on the court dribbling a ball. Anyone can do that. Okay. But if you want to really be at the top of your game, if you really want to focus in on the things that will make you successful, you got to have a coach. So I tell people this all the time, like, you think, why do you need a life coach? You're doing life, right? Every day you get up and go do something every day. So you're like, I got this. I'm doing life. But you're more than likely living a life of mediocrity. There are things that you want to do, things that you want to accomplish. You're not at the top of your game unless you have a life coach.
Right. And it's not just one coach. You need coaches for any area that you want to excel in. Like a lot of business leaders have coaches.
Yes.
And they excel because they can't. For example, there are certain things that they're not going to be free to talk with their peers. They're not going to be free to talk with their parents. They're not going to be free to talk with their teachers. They only need a coach because a coach is looking at it in a particular way where everybody else is going to look at them in their way. Like, parents are going to look like, oh, I want my kids to get good grades. But you as a coach are going to look and say, what do you want?
Exactly. Yes.
And how do we get that?
Right. And that's why I'm so passionate about working with young people and parents, kind of, not to say being a go-between, but being that person that's going to support, because there are so many kids that they do get swayed, whether it's by their parents or whether it's something in the media or whatever, like they should do this or that or the other. And it's really not until they get along in life later on that they realize that they're not fulfilled. See, coaching is really all about bringing that to the forefront. Yes, you absolutely deserve to live a life of fulfillment and passion and resonance and all that kind of stuff. But people don't think about that. They're like living the status quo, basically, is what they're doing. They're living by the rules of status quo, whatever that is, because it changes like every day. Do this, don't do that, whatever. But when someone is living a life on their own terms, they're not going to go wrong. Right, and that's really what coaching is all about.
Right. I think I asked you last time, did you actually have any testimonials right now, like a video testimonials of somebody that you have coached?
No, and I need to put that together because I have so many. And it's just a matter of.
Oh, really? You have a lot of people out there that would be willing to give you a video testimonial. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I would get that done as soon as possible because that's part of your marketing. You don't need that many. I would say 3 would be a good number to start with. Because if you have too many, then people think like there's something hokey here. Like why do you have so many? So if you can get 3 real solid, and then you can always remove 1 if you got a better one. So if you can start with 3. Then I would just, and in the beginning, you don't need to make it professional, but at some point, once your business starts taking off, then you may want to get it done professionally with background music and stuff.
Right.
But right now, you don't need to do that. Just having it is good enough. That there are people who have been affected by your coaching prowess. So I would work on that as soon as possible. Another thing is one thing we discussed last time is that in the beginning, and this is what I do. That's one of the things I get. Like I work with Hire Heroes for two reasons. One is that I want to give back, but
Right.
also it allows me to develop my skill in different areas. Like, I'm coaching you or working with you here right now, counseling you. I'm developing my skill. I know what's working, what's not working. Am I having any kind of impact on you? Is this something that's helping you? And it helps me develop a better coach. And I can use that to my clients, because I can't use it to my paid clients, because if they're
Right.
there, they're paying me. So I have to be really on top of my game. I can't experiment. I cannot be experimenting too much with them, because they have certain expectation, and they've told me what they're looking for. So I can't. With you, I can kind of try different things
Yeah.
and see what's working, what's not working. But I mean, I can be myself. I don't take on this professional posture, like, I know what's going on, right?
Right.
I can be very vulnerable when I'm with people like yourself. But if somebody had hired me who's going for a job interview, then I have to take on a different mode altogether,
Right.
because they're like looking at me. Even though I like them to do most of the talking, because I don't want to be the one but talking. So that's why when it's more informal, I tend to talk a little bit more. Um, but another thing I was going to suggest is that if you have a way, and I think this could be you do a lot of volunteer work. If you can coach kids and any kind of volunteer activities for free, that would be a good
Yes.
way to build up your staying. Sometimes getting paid clients take some time, but at the
Right.
same time, you want to make sure that you're also learning and growing with your developing your craft.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is one thing that Jacob and I talked about, because he's teamed up with another girl. She does the web design and photography and videography and all that kind of stuff. And he does more of like the IT and sort of zeroing in on the social media targeting, marketing, that kind of thing. And he was saying that they want to get some videos of me speaking, or either coaching and or speaking. So like go into the schools and speaking to an assembly, being in front of teenagers, talking to them, and so getting some photos and some videos and stuff like that. So I just applied to volunteer with Coffee Oasis. They help homeless youth, right? Reintegrate back into, get back into school, get off of drugs, get a job, whatever their needs are, clothing, medical care, that kind of stuff. So they have all different kinds of centers around the county. And so I'll be working like at one of the centers, just as a mentor, just kind of being there for them and showing them what it looks like to have a stable life, and to build trust and stuff like that. And then also, Jacob has put me in contact with a guy that works over at WorkSource Washington, which is the one-stop shop if people are on unemployment, if they're looking for a job. They have all kinds of classes and everything over there. Well, apparently they have a youth program. And so Jacob said that Ben would be a good person to talk to. Is he has a lot of connections as far as being a speaker, getting in front of assemblies at schools and stuff like that. So I just replied to his email this morning for us to meet on Monday. I'm just waiting for confirmation from him. So that's in the works. And then I'm just waiting for them to run my background check at Coffee Oasis. So all of that is on the pipeline. I think definitely within the next month or so, I'll be
Right,
able to
right.
hopefully get some photos and some videos and get that on my website and stuff like that.
Right. I had, unless you know somebody who's a photographer, it seems like you have a lot of good network. But I went to Target to get my professional photo
Oh,
taken.
okay. Uh-huh.
So I don't know if you can. There should be local places. You want to get it done
Yeah,
professionally,
absolutely.
because I think you already have something I see in your thing. I don't know if that's the one you use or not, but
I've had some more done recently. I mean, it was right around probably October, November timeframe. And I wasn't really impressed with this girl's photography skills. I mean, there were out of 50 pictures, there were like two that I used. But So I'm part of a women's business group. We're all getting together here at my house tonight, and one of the girls is a photographer, and I asked her, I said, will you bring your equipment and let's see if we can get some headshots, you know, because we talked about that before. She's like, oh, I'll do some headshots for you, you know, free of charge. And so anyway, we'll see, you know, if we're able to come up with something
Yeah,
good.
you also want to do one where you're actually coaching some young person.
Yeah.
Find some young person and just like, you know, actor maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Pay them some money and say like, look, can we another thing is one of the things that I think we discussed last time was I said, you know, can you put together a 3-minute video that captures what you do? Have you worked on that yet or not?
I haven't done it yet, and again, that's something that you know, Jacob and Ann are going to, you know, right now what I did was I wrote a bunch of content,
right,
and I sent that over to Jacob, and he's looking at different templates for because I designed my website myself, and of course he's looking at it, and you know, I'm thinking it's looking pretty good, but he's like, oh, well, we can do this and we can do that. So anyway, I'm waiting to hear back from him on template design and all that kind of stuff. He's basically going to plug in the content. Ann and I are going to get together and do a little video, you know, so yeah, that's all on my radar for sure.
I'm going to send you a link of this video that I saw. Somebody sent it to me. I don't know if you heard of this guy's name, Donald Miller. Have you heard of him? Donald Miller. He's written a book on Story Brand. And
oh yeah. I've heard of Story Brand. Is that the same guy that does Story Brand?
Yeah, he has a podcast. He also has a podcast, but anyway, in this particular video, he's looking at like the website, and I will send it to you. In fact, let me put that as an action item. The website. I mean, you can do a search on YouTube and you'll find it. His name is Donald Miller, and he just came out with this book on Story Brand. And what he does is he looks at the website. He had like he was giving a speech, and he had these people, you know, who wanted like a feedback on what their website on their website, and he would take a look at it and he would say, wait a second, what do you want me to do when I look at your website? Because people are going to make a decision very quickly.
Yeah.
So like if you, and I don't know if I did based on watching it, but my website has this buy button right there.
Right.
Because it's a book. I mean, if you're at my website, I have text, which I may have to remove now after watching his video. But he said, what do you want them to do? The first thing you want them to do is you want them to buy your book.
Right.
That's the main thing. And a lot of these people showed all kinds of stuff on their website, and he was all confused. Like, wait a second, what? Like one couple, they had business of windows, right? And he couldn't make sense. Like, if I look at it, and basically what he was doing was he was looking at these websites for the first time, so that way he can give his honest feedback without like trying to figure. Once you figure it out, then you know exactly what it is. So he was looking at it just fresh, that if I take a fresh look at a website, it should tell me exactly what you want me to do. And if I can't get that, you lost me.
Right.
And I'll send you that video because as you're working on your video, when somebody goes to your website, you want them to make a decision quickly. Whether they want to, what do you do? Like, what do you do? Like if you put that tag down, like unleash superpower or your young kid's superpower of high potential,
right?
That tells them, oh, and then you can say, register, request a just we're brainstorming here. I'm not saying this is what you should do. So let's say if I came to your website and I say, wow, what does Kim do? Oh, she you don't want to use the word coach in the beginning because people have all kinds of, the word coach, I would kind of stay away from it. Because let them say, oh, so you're a coach. And I don't like to use the word coach because it sometimes kind of makes you look too professional. Like, I'm a coach. Like, oh, that means what? Like, what does that mean? Like, coach. So I'd like to tell them you want to tell them the results you deliver. Yeah. Because that's what people want. They don't care what you do. They want to know what you do for them. Right. And what you do for them is you're going to unleash their true potential, right? Whatever it is. Make them more fearless about, whatever it is. You got to come up with that. And then the next thing is, what is the next thing you're offering them? And if it's a free consultation, then put it right there. So right
Right.
away they're saying, "Wow, I want to get a free consultation. Let's talk to." In the beginning, you're going to get swamped, but it's worth it in the beginning to do that. You can
Right.
always change it later on, because in the
Yeah.
beginning you need as many people as possible. So some of them may not work out at all, but that's the risk you have to take. That's what you have to do in the beginning, to get as many
Right.
people and give them free consultation for like half an hour,
Hmm.
and maybe half of them, or maybe even a quarter of them, will turn into your clients, and then you
Right.
can. I think we talked about, then you can have like a 3 session package, etc. So
Hmm.
that way you're
Hmm.
kind of incrementally taking them to the next step, so that they feel they're under control, rather than you're like, okay, you're now locked in with me. Then nobody likes to get locked into anything.
Right.
Have you given
Right.
more thought to that? How you plan to do that? And what do you think would be effective for what you do?
Um, in terms of like,
Like, I mean, the main thing is, like, you got the skill that you can coach
right.
and you want to coach. The question is, you need clients. You need
Yeah.
clients. So the question is that some of them may not be paid in the beginning, because you need to make yourself look like you are doing the work.
Right.
Other people don't need to know whether you're getting paid or not, but they need to
Right.
see that you are working with clients, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some of them can turn into testimonials. And the more testimonials you have, the more experience you get, the more then you can go out and talk about it. And when you're talking about it, you have some stories that you can talk about, because you have coached these people. So it gives you more credibility.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So
Um,
that's how I mean, I think what I'm doing is not any different from what you're doing, because when you're trying to
right.
build a business like that,
Right.
that's what you have to do. You got to be out
Right.
there and give, because the thing is that people, what I realize is that people want something that doesn't. The first thing is, you got to give them a lot of content, free
Hmm.
content,
Hmm.
which I think you agree. The more content they have, they the question is, are they going to come back to it? Like, are you
Right.
giving them content that is like, wow, there's something here that I didn't, and like I said, you have to gear your content towards parents or kids. I don't know who would be the right target there for you. You have to find that
Hmm.
out.
Hmm.
Then they keep coming and saying, wow. And this takes a while, by the way, so I don't want to, like, lead you thinking this
Yeah.
happens with me. I always hear people like, I wrote one blog and all of a sudden, like, my life changed. That hasn't happened to me.
Right. Right.
I've written like over hundreds of blogs, and I haven't got one blog that completely changed my life. And I've written some good blogs too. So I'm not going to say that one
Right.
blog has completely, transformed, changed my life. So the more content, I think it's a quantity game. The more blogs you write, the
Yes.
more thinking you have done. You become like a
Hmm.
thought leader. People think of
Hmm.
Kim as that. Wow, she's the go-to person. She's got a lot of, and also it gives you a lot to say, because when you write a blog, you got to think a lot too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
some
And the
of it
next
can.
thing, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I want to find some publications that I can send my articles to,
Right.
because that will definitely help with the social proof.
Right. I mean, even if you can't find any publication, because sometimes that's a process in itself.
Hmm.
You have several places you can put it. You have your website.
Yeah.
That's the main page. That's your hub, right? Then you can
Right.
put it on Facebook.
Hmm.
Then you can put it. You can always ask some site that and ask them if they would be willing for you to guest post on their
Right. Right.
website. So you don't need to get a publication, because there are a lot of because sometimes I've never done that. I've never done guest posting, because I
Hmm.
just post everything on my even like Huffington Post or something. Those are hard to get, by the way. I've tried it. It's not that simple.
Hmm.
But if you can try somebody who's doing something similar and guest post on their website, then that will, and if they get good number of followers, you need quality followers. You don't need quantity necessarily
Right.
sometimes,
Right.
because a lot of people get hung up on these metrics, and I think sometimes they're kind of misleading.
Yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
like, if you got like 10 people out there who are really interested in you and they could become your clients, then that's fine. That's
Hmm.
what you need. You don't need like
Hmm.
thousands and thousands of, because I'm not sure those thousands of followers are really paying attention that closely.
Right.
Like, I know, like, I put some stuff. There's one woman will always comment on what I put up on YouTube,
Hmm. That's cool.
and she's consistent. So I said, you know what, you're my super fan.
Yeah.
I said, it all starts in life. Everything starts with that one person who really, really likes what you do. So then it's working.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So, and another thing, do you have a speech ready if you had an opportunity to give a speech in school? Because I see that on LinkedIn, you have blogs you have written on LinkedIn. Have you
Yeah.
turned that into a speech that with stories and something that you can talk about your personal life and talk about some people that you work with? And because again, you don't want to tell them like, here's what I do with coaching. You want to tell kind of
Right.
stories, right? Have you
Right.
put that together yet, or are you still in the
No,
process
but
of?
I guess I feel like if someone says, "Hey, why don't you come address the assembly at school?" Okay, what are some topics that would be helpful to them, and then work from there. I have zero problems writing, Jay. I mean, I can literally sit down and 5 or 10 minutes later, I've got a pretty substantial article or blog or whatever written, because the thing is, my mind is always going. I have in my notes section on my phone, and in this little notebook right here, I'm always writing stuff down, little ideas or something that pop into my head, and then I just develop them later. And actually, that's another thing I need to put on my to-do list is to I've been wanting to take all the notes, the topics that I have in my phone, and put them in a document, right? Even if I'm just putting like a little header, topic, and then take some time, an hour a day or whatever, to go through and develop the topic, and actually write an article. So that's something that I need to write down.
How many blogs do you want to write a week? Do you think that you can put out? Have you given
that I can put out? I mean, I could probably write something every day, but I don't want to. I would probably say 2 a week would be
good.
That way they know I'm active.
You're consistent. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And are you doing that right now, or that's what you'd like to get to?
That's what I would like to get to, because right now, not to say all I'm doing, what I do is, like I said, I could be driving in my car or walking around or whatever, and something will pop into my head like, oh, I want to talk about this. And so I'll put it in my notes for a later time.
Right.
And it's almost like, oh, well, I've captured it, so it's there. I don't have to worry about forgetting it, but then I don't go back and, develop the idea.
Right. And what about video? You have a YouTube channel yet or not?
I do have a YouTube channel. I've done some Facebook Live videos, and that's what I need, to focus on doing that once every other day or something like that, but consistently, like I was looking at that the other day, and you go on Facebook and they give you some tips, for Facebook Live. And one of the tips is that you say, tomorrow I'll be going live at such and such a time, and this is what I'll be talking about. And that way, or maybe you say, I'll be talking about a hot topic or something like that. And that way it generates the intrigue and, more likely to get people to,
So one of the things that I'm going to suggest is identify a series that you'd like to do something. And I think you would need to do a short video, because if it's too long, the people will not pay attention.
Right.
So pick a series and then identify. It's almost like you're writing a book, right? You're going to kind of organize it. Say, okay, I want to do a series on something.
Right.
And then just come up with short videos, maybe, I don't know how many in a series, up to you, 5, 6, 7, up to 10, and see how that goes. So that way, when somebody says, you can just send them the link to that series saying, hey, by the way, I did a series on exactly this. And also what that, so here's the thing. I used to think that people always give this hints about writing a book. And I think a best way to write a book is, people say you got to write a blog. And then from blog, you can turn that into, blog, and then you can expand it and turn it into a book. I think, in my opinion, a better way is from video to blog, from video to book. Because in video, you're much more informal. You don't have to worry about grammar and all that. You're just
Right.
talking to people, and you can use different colloquialness and language. And also you're using your gestures. So people look at you in a much different way than when they're reading. When they're reading, they're looking for, like, they got to
Yeah.
nitpick you if your grammar is bad. But
Right.
with video, that's not the case. So from video, then you can, at some point, you can even turn that into an MP3. And if you don't have the time to turn it into a document, you can just get it transcribed. And pretty soon you can have a making of a book. Believe it or not, it adds up pretty quickly.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but not everyone likes to read. They'd rather watch a video or something like that. So I've thought about that. Whatever I'm blogging about, I need to also have a video for it so that people can see it either way.
Right. The only caveat is this: when you're going to make a video, you got to really show some energy, because people, they in the video now you're putting several things together, right?
Right.
Your gestures, because I like always do a standing video. I don't do a sitting video. And the gestures you use, the voice, and then the content. And what becomes important, somebody's done a study of this, and I agree with this, visual becomes more important than and then the second is the way you use your voice. And then the content is like the least important, even though you need content, right? But that becomes the least important. So keep that in mind if you're going to do a video, that you want to put some energy out there, like, hey, hey, why are you, like, you ask them a question, like they have to, like, you have to get to them really quickly. And when you're doing a video, it'll take work. I'm not saying that, we're not all actors here, but you don't need to be an actor. I think you have passion for what you believe in. So if you can show them the passion on this particular topic, I think it'll resonate with the people that you're trying to reach. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, I agree.
So let's say next 2 weeks. So let's take some action items. What are some of the things because we covered a lot of things here. Some of the things you can do. What are the top 3 you're going to work on before we have our next call, like in a couple of weeks, or whenever you're ready for the next call? Because I want to see some real progress here.
Yeah, the top 3 will be for me to transfer my notes from my phone to a document and start getting some articles written up. I'm also going to...
Okay, so the first one is blogs.
Yeah.
Blogs on your website. Yep. But you're still is your website all done now, or are you still in the process of developing it? It's like a work in progress.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
But you can use it, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so one is blogs. What's the second thing you're going to do?
The other one will
One second. Okay, blogs. How many are you going to write a week?
Well, basically what I want to do, Jay, is I want to take the topics, if you will, that I have just typed into my phone. I basically want to get those organized into a document so that, number one, they're not in my phone anymore. If anything ever happened to my phone, I'm not sure that all that stuff I put in there would be retrievable. So it really needs to be in a document on my hard drive or a flash drive or whatever. So I want to sit down and take the time, and, like, all the little ideas that I've typed into my phone, I want to transfer that over to my computer. And then I want to take some time to, let's say, I'll write 2 more articles. No, let's say 4. I'll write 4 more articles between now and the next time we talk.
Okay, so I got 4 articles down. Okay.
Yep. And then the other thing...
Don't be a perfectionist. Just get it out there, even if it's not to your standard.
Yeah.
It's better to just get it out there, and then you can always make it better later on.
Right.
Okay, so that's one. So what's the second item?
All of that's one. That's a lot. I want to transfer the notes from my phone to a document, write 4 articles, and then...
Okay, if that's enough, then let's just go with that.
Well, no, I mean, that's 2. I look at that as being 2. And then the third one is I want to get on Zoom and learn how Zoom works so that I can start looking at doing some webinars.
Oh, okay.
Because I've been doing some workshops and I'm getting interest in that, but not everyone's able to attend in person. So I want to start looking at Zoom and seeing how I can use that.
I like Zoom. Zoom's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah.
Zoom's good. But it's not free. I think it's you have to pay for that if you want to get more and more people on it, right? Is that true?
I think so. Yeah. And the thing is, I just really need to sit down and play around with it.
Yeah,
And
that's another good idea that you just gave me that I didn't bring up, but you just brought it up. That another thing to do is I mean, this is something that I have started. I did it for a year last year. I had a YouTube show called Speech Talk Live,
oh,
and
cool.
that was supposed to turn into a podcast, but I haven't turned it into a podcast yet because it's a lot of work, by the way, to do a podcast and trying to get people on the show. But I want people on the show who are ready to talk about the speech that they have given, and it's hard to find people who want to do that.
Right.
So I have a podcast, I have logo and everything. What I may do is that I may have to change the format where I may just like I just wrote a blog on LinkedIn about Oprah, that I may just do it just myself rather than getting a guest on the show. I used to have a guest. I used to have a guest who would come on the show and we would analyze the speech. But she's busy with her book and all that, so she cannot come on anymore. So I may have to do it as a solo. And then after a while, if somebody has given a speech and they want to come on, then we can. Because see, what I don't want to do is have people come on who have written a book, unless there's something interesting that's going to help somebody. That's the kind of podcast I want to do.
I think there's a lot of people out there that would love to be a guest on your show, that would love to have someone like you analyzing their speech and giving them feedback and stuff. Because I know a lot of people just in the circles I'm running around in that, you know, they want to be a keynote speaker. Right. You know, and they could definitely use someone to kind of nudge them along to either get the speech written, or once it is written, let's polish it up, blah, 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 and build that confidence so they're ready to go do a speech.
Right. The only difference, I agree with what you're saying, that there are people who would be interested. Yeah. The problem is that there are not a lot of people who'd be interested in listening to that, because what that would show is that it helps you. But then somebody who's listening, they're like, wait a second, I'm not going to get much out of it now. How much would they be interested in that? You understand? So a lot of times I analyze speeches of famous people because everybody gets to see that, and they usually won't come on the show. And I will pick up things because I used to do what you're saying. I would actually have people who were giving speeches. I used to mentor people on the Coursera website for the public speaking course. They would come on, but here's the issue with that. A lot of people don't realize how difficult it is to make a speech better. There's a lot involved. There's a lot involved in it. A lot of people are just happy to get their speech done.
Right.
For many of them, that's a success. And when you start asking them to tweak this, not asking like I know the answer, because I look at it from the point, like I don't even nitpick anything. When I analyze anybody's speech, I look at it from your point of view. What were you trying to achieve? And did you achieve it? And if you didn't, why? Like you know, did you capture somebody? Because I look at my whole analysis comes down to three things: the content, the message, and the performance. That's it. I will not look at anything else. And then at the end, if you got those three, then did you achieve your objective? And if you achieve your objective, what does that mean? Like you see, if you're going to go in front of people, young, like let's say, like a lot of parents, you've got to have some objective in mind. Like, what are you trying to achieve by going in front of them? Are you trying to just get your message out, or are you trying to get potential clients out of giving that talk? And I would think that if you're in a business, that's what you're looking for. So that so the question is that how would you craft your speech so it doesn't come across like a commercial? Or at least there would be like enough people would come talk to you after the speech and saying, hey, you know, can I have your card? I'm really interested in knowing more about what you're doing. Then you achieved your objective.
In terms of who would be interested in listening to the podcast, I don't think it's enough to look at it strictly from the point of view of like speeches and speech writing and perfecting speeches and all that. Think TEDx, right? Think about all the people that watch TEDx videos, and it's not because of, you know, they necessarily want to be up there on stage themselves. They're listening for the content, right? So this could be just another way for, you know, so yeah, you're doing a show with someone that wants to write a speech and wants to get better at writing a speech, but there's content in that, right? And so you could have people that are interested just in listening to the content. They want to see like, who's out there writing speeches? What are they talking about? Where are they going? Where are they going to talk about this at? You know, so you got that. Then you've got people that may be inspired by someone, especially if the speech writer that you have on there, they're telling their story, right? They're like, I grew up in the suburbs of wherever to a single parent family, and I hate my job, and I'm writing this speech because I want this or that, right? So they may be an inspiration to somebody else who maybe they don't want to write a speech. Maybe they're never going to get up on a stage and deliver a speech, but maybe they're needing some inspiration. Maybe they're feeling stuck or like
Right.
in a dead end job or something. And they're listening to this person say, this is where I was, and this is where I am now, and this is where I'm going,
Right.
And oh, by the way, I've got someone helping me out. That might spark someone to, and so in other words, you never know.
Yeah, right. That's a good point. That's a good point. I never thought of it that way. Yeah, that you can't go in with a preconceived notion because you don't know how other people may react to that. Right. That's a good point. Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. That's a thing that because like I said, once you write a book, that book is outside. Now it's out of your hands. How you interpret it, then you make that into your book. Because I've written the book because I got feedback just recently from somebody who had read my book, and he was explaining my book better than even I could explain it.
Yeah,
that's embarrassing because he internalized my book to the point where he kind of like, I really agree with you. I got to go out and give more speeches. I agree because he's an elderly person that I never thought about it. Like I thought, like, and he was in the military for many, many years. And he's like, after reading your book, I think I have a lot of things that I want to say to people. I said, then just do it. Just do it. If that motivated you, I'm all for it. That's what the whole point is, that, you people have a lot of things that he's been around for many, many years. I said, you have a lot of stories. Go and just tell those stories and make it so that other people want to listen to it. Just like we all grow up and we have stories, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to do the Zoom you're going to work on. So that you're definitely doing, or you're thinking about that?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do between now and the next time we talk. Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to become a content queen.
Yes.
They're going to have a lot of content for me to take a look at. And I will send you, do you have any questions before we end this? Any specific questions that I did not address? Because I just wanted to kind of have a chat, to kind of get a progress report and get you kind of light that fire to get you doing things.
Yeah,
because, unless you're doing things, then you're just talking about it, and we can't be talking about it for too long.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. Yeah, no, I don't have any questions. I think things are going great, and really appreciate all of your insight and your support, motivation.
Yeah, and I will send you that link from this guy, Donald Miller. Take a look at it. He's got a lot of interesting things to say, and he's got a lot of YouTube videos where he talks about these things.
Okay.
And this one on website I thought was pretty good.
Okay. Sounds
all
great.
Right. And I'll send you the link. And what I'll do is anything I come up with, I'll just send you the email, and so that way you have that information.
Okay.
Because I think now I'm getting a pretty good understanding on where you are and what you're trying to do. So
yeah,
I'll keep on sending these things to you, so kind of motivate you, make sure that you're still, got these blogs written and you're getting them out there. And I would not worry about it if they're not, to your perfection. Otherwise, you won't do it.
Yeah, and I'm very much that way. Like, this is not, So yeah.
Yeah, I would just get it out there, and if somebody comments, because are you kind of person when somebody says, I didn't like it, you take it personally, or it doesn't bother you?
Sometimes it depends on who the person is, I guess.
Yeah. I would ignore that.
Okay.
Unless somebody is very constructive.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Constructive say, Kimberly, I liked your blog a lot, but I think there are some arguments you could have made a little better. And then they give you specific arguments they can give you. It's not good enough to say that, your argument, your blog just didn't resonate. That doesn't tell you anything. I would just say, okay, I'll have to work on it.
Yeah.
But if they give you specific things that they could do, I always ask them, so how would you make it better?
Right.
And most people cannot.
Yeah.
Most people are like, I don't know. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'll take your suggestions.
Yeah.
All right, Kimberly, Kim, enjoy your weekend, and I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks then, okay?
Sounds great, Jay.
I hope you got some weekend. Yeah, just keep on doing it. Get yourself out there, and you got tremendous amount of potential. I already see it, and get it. Like I said, if you can't get paid clients, get free clients. Get clients, period.
Yep. Got it.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.